Good day, matric learners. My name is Mrs. Vuma, and today we are going to look at the human ear. Very interesting topic. The ear has got different things like the structure. So we've got the ear, which has got the structure and functions. There are three different parts: outer ear, middle ear, inner ear. And the functioning of the ear, that's for hearing and balance. And we also have got hearing defects. By the end of the lesson, we will address knowing the parts of the ear and where they are found, understanding how the structure of each part is related to its function, understanding how all parts work together to enable hearing, understanding which parts are involved in balance and how they work, predicting the effects of ear defects on hearing and balance. We do have a series of terminology that you need to acclimatize yourself with, know them and know what they mean. Common content errors and misconceptions. Learners cannot identify parts of the ear correctly. They do not understand how the structures of different parts of the ear are related to their functions, cannot explain the steps of hearing process in the correct order, do not understand how parts involved in balance work, cannot predict the effect of ear defects on hearing and balance. Exam writing competencies. It is very crucial for you to remember that you must have very good reading skills when you engage with the question paper in order to get maximum marks. You must be a critical thinker with good critical thinking skills. You must also have got very good time management skills. Be a good communicator. When you write down your work, communicate thoroughly. You must also have fundamental numerical concepts and principles. There are calculations here and there in life sciences. On this note, don't go far. We will be back. Welcome back, grade 12 learners. We are now looking at the ear, and our focus will be the structure and function of different parts. So the ear is made up of three parts, which is the outer ear, the middle ear, and the inner ear. The outer ear is made up basically of the pinna. So this is the pinna of the ear, and we've got the auditory canal, which is also called the ear canal. Then we've got the tympanic membrane. The functions are: ear canal transmits sound waves to the eardrum, and tympanic membrane transmits sound waves to the middle ear, and the pinna directs sound waves to the eardrum. This is part of the middle ear. So the middle ear is made up basically of ossicles, which are hammer, anvil, and stirrup. In order to remember the correct order, you can use has: hammer, anvil, and stirrup. And ossicles, they transmit vibrations from the eardrum to the inner ear. This is part of the middle ear, with the Eustachian tube, which equalizes pressure on either side of the eardrum. You can also use these names here for the ossicles: malleus, incus, and stapes. So you can miss, okay, there must be S here, miss, MIS, for the acronyms. The structure and functioning of the eye. So we have got, this is the inner ear. We've got semicircular canals, and we've got the cochlea. There is the round window. We've got, this is the oval window. Then we've got the round window. And there is the auditory nerve. And on the semicircular canals, we've got circulars and utriculars for balance of the body. And then we've got other parts for the balance of the body that we'll speak about later. Let us look at the functioning of the ear. Now, when we speak about hearing, If you check this diagram that we have here, it's showing us the entire ear. On this entire ear, it's showing us the arrows that are starting from outside to show the movement of the sound until it reaches the inner ear. So basically, we have got sound waves that are found in the air on the outer ear, trapped by the pinna, and they go through the auditory canal to the tympanic membrane, making the tympanic membrane to vibrate. Vibrations are now passed from the tympanic membrane to the ossicles, and then from the ossicles, now the vibrations will reach the oval window. From the oval window, pressure wave is created, which is now taken to the cochlea, where we've got receptors, and these receptors are called the organ of Corti, and the organ of Corti will take the impulses through the auditory nerve to the cerebrum for interpretation. Semicircular canals, at the other hand, these are the semicircular canals. So what they do, they run in 3 different planes. You can see 1, 2, and 3. And they are filled with liquid, which is called the endolymph. And they contain crystal. And the function, in other words, the crystal that are found on the semicircular canals, what they do is they are responsible for picking up the change in speed and direction. And then once the speed and direction is picked up, the crystal are stimulated and they send the impulses, nerve impulses to the cerebellum through the auditory nerve. And then cerebellum, not cerebrum, sends impulses to the muscles and balance is restored. That is in change of the speed and direction. We then have got balance again for the change in the position of the head. So what we have here again is the semicircular canals. We've got circulars and utriculars, which have got maculae. Maculae are the receptors. These are the receptors. Right, receptors. And these receptors, what they pick up is the change in the position of the head. And then they now pick up the stimulus and they convert it into a nerve impulse, which is carried again via the auditory nerve to the, not to the cerebrum, but to the cerebellum. Not cerebrum, but cerebellum. Cerebellum, not cerebrum. Balance is controlled by the cerebellum, not cerebrum. We do have hearing defects on the ear. So some of the causes of deafness, when we say people are deaf, sometimes the eardrum does not vibrate properly. And what are the causes? Maybe it is blocked by wax or the eardrum is perforated. If it is blocked by wax, the wax can be syringed out. But if it's perforated, it will heal and can operate properly. Sometimes the ossicles do not vibrate properly because the middle ear is filled with liquid. Now the solution is the insertion of grommets. And then bones damaged with age, and they can be replaced. Those bones can be replaced with plastic. And sometimes the organ of Corti is damaged by age or loud noise. And it cannot convert pressure waves to impulses. And the solution is cochlear implant, which sends signals directly to the auditory nerve, which will now send it to the cerebrum for hearing to be interpreted. November 2023, paper 1, sample question 1.4. The diagram alongside represents the human ear. You engage with the diagram itself, is the full ear. 141, identify A, part B. So you come and identify part B. This is part B, and we know that is the semicircular canal. Part E, we check this is the window, but it's the bottom one, and part E is the round window. 142, give the letter and the name of the part that is filled with air. The part which is filled with air, it should be D, the Eustachian tube. The Eustachian tube is air-filled. Contains the organ of Corti. So you look at the diagram, this one that looks like a shell has got organ of Corti, and therefore the letter in the name is C, which is the cochlea. 143, give the letter of the part where grommets are inserted. So you check the diagram, where are grommets inserted? They are inserted here by part F. You are only giving the letter. That amplifies vibrations. How are vibrations amplified? They are amplified here by A, which is the ossicles. On that note, let's go for our ad break. We'll be back soon. Matric learners coming back from ad break, let us look at November 2022, paper 1, question 3.3. The diagram represents a part of the human ear. You look at the diagram, it's a complete human ear, outer, middle, inner ear. 331, identify part C. You come to the diagram and you look at part C, and part C that looks like a shell of a snail, it's cochlea. 332, state one function of part D. So part D, this is part D, and part D, you must know the name before you give us the function. Part D is the round window. What is the function? Part D here equalizes or releases pressure from the inner ear. The round window releases the pressure from the inner ear for 1 mark. State one function of the receptors found at C. So C is the cochlea. What is the name of the receptors, by the way? It's the organ of Corti. But we are looking for the function of the receptors. So what do? The organ of Corti, what they do, remember they take the impulses, so they convert pressure waves into impulses. 333. Explain why a build-up of earwax at part A may result in temporary hearing loss. Check part A. This is part A, and part A is the tympanic membrane. What will happen if we've got a build-up there? The eardrum, which is the tympanic membrane, cannot vibrate properly, 1 mark, and few vibrations are passed on to the ossicles or to the middle ear. There is your 2 marks. So if we've got wax that is full here, the vibration is compromised. 334. A grommet is a small device that allows the air to move into and out of the middle ear. This prevents pressure build up in the middle ear. This is the middle ear. We're talking about the middle ear, and then there's no build up. Explain how the use of grommets in the treatment of middle ear infection prevents hearing loss for 4 marks. So you are saying middle ear infection causes fluid build up, so the eardrum cannot vibrate. We're talking about A. A is our tympanic membrane or our eardrum. It cannot vibrate. So what grommets do? They allow the fluid to drain out, and pressure on both sides of the eardrum is equalized, and ossicles can vibrate freely. If the vibrations are not happening freely here on the tympanic membrane, it will affect the middle ear, the ossicles. And if the ossicles cannot vibrate, the oval window cannot vibrate, meaning that the pressure wave is not going to form on the inner ear, and therefore hearing is already compromised. 335. Describe how the receptors in part B are involved in maintaining balance when there are changes in the speed and direction of movement of the head for 4 marks. So you come to the diagram and you see Part B, this is part B, and it's the semicircular canals. But we are looking at the change in speed and direction. At the back of your mind, you remember change in speed and direction of movement. This is mainly the Christi responsibility. Let us see how this is going to be unpacked. The Christi are stimulated, and now the impulse is produced, which are sent along the auditory nerve to the cerebellum, not cerebrum, which interprets impulses and stimulates muscles to restore balance. How many points do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. For 4 marks, any 4, you get your marks. So maximize your answers and be careful not to confuse maculae and Christi. November 2015, paper 1. The diagram represents a part of the human ear. That is question 2.1. 2.1.1. Identify part A. So you study the diagram, and this diagram is only showing us the middle ear and the inner ear, and you tell us what is part A. Part A, you can see it is part of the middle ear, and that is the Eustachian tube. And you identify part B, so you come and check this is part B. It's not attached to the ossicles, and that is the round window. And identify part E. The part E is the regular one that we see that is looking like a shore, and that is the cochlea. 2.1.2. Explain the results if part A is blocked. You come to this and you look at part A. So you need to know the function. Remember, part A is the Eustachian tube, and it equalizes the pressure on either side of the tympanic membrane. If it's blocked, what will happen? But you are explaining. Pressure cannot be equalized on both sides of tympanic membrane, and as air cannot pass up the tube, so ossicles cannot vibrate freely. This could lead to tympanum or tympanic membrane bursting. 2.1.3. Describe how part D, the semicircular canal, plays a role in maintaining balance when the body changes speed and direction. We are looking again at part D, the semicircular canals. So the movement of liquid or endolymph is influenced in the semicircular canals. Christi are stimulated to send an impulse along the auditory nerve to the cerebellum, which sends impulses to the muscles to restore balance. You see how fleshy the answer is. Give us all the information whenever this question is asked so that you maximize your marks. Let us look at November 2018, paper 1. 2.4, study the diagram alongside. Always it is a norm that you look at the diagram, you study it before you attempt answering questions. 2.4.1, give one function of part A. So you look at part A, you must be able to know the structure itself before you know the function. Part A is an auditory canal. And what is the function? It conducts sound waves to tympanic membrane. So from the pinna, this is the pinna, the sound wave is conducted to the tympanic membrane. This is the tympanic membrane. And one function of part E, you check part E is the Eustachian tube, and the function is to equalize pressure on either side of the tympanic membrane. Function of part F is the round window. Don't confuse it with the oval window. Oval window is this one here. So the round window, the function is to release pressure from the inner ear and to prevent distortion of sound. 2.4.2, write down only the letter of the part where sound is transmitted in a form of a pressure wave in a liquid. So where is it transmitted in a form? Only the letter. And your answer is C. It's transmitted in a form of pressure wave. Remember when now vibrations enter the inner ear, this is now changed into pressure waves. So it is by C, which is the cochlea, but you don't give us the name. An electric impulse. Which part here? The electric impulse is going through this. What is this, by the way? It is the auditory nerve, but then you only give us the letter, which is the letter D. 243, explain the effect if the receptors in region C are damaged. Region C, the receptors here, if the organ of Corti, the receptors are damaged, what will happen? For 3 marks. Remember, the receptors or the organ of Corti, what they do, they now convert the stimulus into an impulse. So what will happen? No stimulus is converted into an impulse. No impulses are sent to the cerebrum, so the person cannot hear. The cochlea, this structure here, structure C, it's for hearing only. But this structure here is for balance. 244, describe how the parts of the middle ear, including the membranes, assist with amplifying sound. So we are looking at the ossicles, the hammer, anvil, and stirrup. How do they assist with the amplification of sound? The large tympanic membrane transmits vibration to the smaller oval window through the ossicles, which amplifies sound. So if you check here, even on the diagram itself, look at the tympanic membrane. It's quite big. And then the sound now leaves the bigger tympanic membrane. As the sound enters the middle ear, the ossicles are quite small, so sound is already amplified. And sound is going to the oval window so that it can now move into, it's not even sound, but vibrations. They can move into the inner ear now as pressure waves. November 2018, paper 1, 2.4.5, describe the role of the semicircular canals in maintaining balance. This is for 4 marks. So we are looking at semicircular canals. Do you remember the receptors there? So we are saying that the movement of the head stimulates the cristae, which send the impulse to the cerebellum via the auditory nerve, and cerebellum sends impulses to the muscles to restore balance. That is the function of the semicircular canals. May 2022, paper 1, 3.4, the diagram represents part of the human ear with middle ear infection. Here's the middle ear, and it's quite gray, so there's infection there. 341, identify part B. Part B, this part B here, it's a auditory canal. And part D is including the 3 small bones here that are lying close to each other in the middle ear, and that is the ossicles. 342, state one function of part A. So you check part A. Part A, what is part A? Is the pinna of the ear. What does it do? When sound enters the ear, it lands here. And then the function is, it funnels or traps sound waves from the outside into the ear. Funneling or trapping is the same thing. 343, explain how middle ear infection could affect hearing. So if the infection is here, how is hearing affected? Ossicles, if there's middle ear infection, they cannot vibrate freely. Oval window won't vibrate. No pressure waves formed in the cochlea. Organ of Corti will not be stimulated. No impulses to the cerebrum, so a person cannot hear. So if the problem is on the middle ear here, it means that whatever is supposed to be taken through the pathway of the ear to the inner ear is compromised. Therefore, a person will not be able to hear. 344, describe the role of Eustachian tube. Describe, it's a description for how many marks? By now we know it is responsible for equalizing pressure on either side of the tympanic membrane. You can see the different approaches and the different verbs that examiners use, but they mean the same thing. Just know what they're asking for to get your marks. 345, name the small device that is used in the treatment of middle ear infection. What is it that is used there? It is the use of grommets. 346, write down the letter of the part where the small device named in question 345 is inserted. So you tell us the part and that is part C. They are not asking you the name, but the name is tympanic membrane. 347. Describe how part E is involved in the maintaining balance when there's a change in speed and direction of movement of the head. We are looking at part E, the semicircular canals. So the liquid or the endolymph in the canal moves, cristae are stimulated, sends nerve impulses to cerebellum for interpretation, and cerebellum sends impulses to the muscles, and balance is restored. May 2021, paper 1, 1.4. The diagram alongside represents a part of the human ear. You look at this. This is basically the inner ear. Identify, 141, identify part A. So what is part A? Here is the semicircular canals, and part B, that is the auditory nerve. 142, give the letter and name of the part that creates pressure waves in the fluid of the inner ear. So you look at the part, what is going to create the pressure waves from the middle ear? And the part there is E, which is oval window. Remember, vibrations will come and they are going to now go to the oval window, making the oval window to vibrate. And then the moment the vibrations leave the middle ear into the inner ear, pressure wave is created, which is now going to come to the cochlea and stimulate the organ of Corti to convert the stimulus into a nerve impulse. B, absorbs excess pressure waves in the inner ear to prevent formation of an echo. And that is, we are looking at the letter and the name, and that is the D, which is the round window. 143, name the part of the brain that interprets impulses from part F. So we are looking at part F here. What is the name of the part of the brain? Part F is the semicircular canal. So semicircular canal has to do with balancing. And balancing, which part of the brain works with balancing? It's cerebellum, not cerebrum. Cerebellum. And we can go and take a short break. Don't go far. We are coming back. Welcome back from the ad break. We are looking at May 2018, paper 1, still on the ear, question 2.3. The diagram alongside represents a part of the human ear. 231. Oh, so you look at the part. Here is the part of the human ear. 231. Name the part of the brain that receives impulses from part A and B. Okay, so you look at part A and part B. Which part of the brain? It is the cerebellum for balancing. Part C. Okay, part C, which type of the part of the brain is the cerebrum. 232, name the receptor found in part C. Part C, cochlea. What is the name of the receptor? Everybody knows by now, it's organ of Corti. 233, explain 2 ways in which part A in the diagram is structurally suited to maintain balance. So we're looking at structure, the semicircular canals, right? Semicircular canals. So how are they structurally suited? For 4 marks. They contain fluid which can move, have receptors, cristae to perceive movement, lie in 3 different planes to sense movement in any direction. You can see it's plane 1, 2, and 3, and they do have cristae which will pick up the change in the speed and movement. May 2023, paper 1, 2.6. Workers in some factories are constantly exposed to loud noise for long periods. This can destroy the hair cells in the organ of Corti and damage the auditory nerve, resulting in hearing loss. A survey was conducted in a developing country from 2014 to 2018 to establish the number of factory workers who suffered from hearing loss. The results are shown in the table alongside. The table here, you engage with it, so you've got the years here, and you also have got the numbers of the factory workers that suffered from hearing loss. 261. Name the structure in the ear where the organ of Corti is located. Organ of Corti, these are receptors which are found on the cochlea. 262. Calculate the percentage increase in the number of factory workers with hearing loss between 2014 and 2018. Show all working. So you are looking at 85,000 and 130,000. And this is how you calculate. You are going to say 130,000, which is 2018, minus 85,000, which is 2014, the initial number, divided by 85,000. 85,000 is the initial one for 2014, and multiplied by 100, which is going to give us 52.94%. The reason why we are multiplying by 100 is because we are looking at the percentage. 263. Suggest one reason for the increase in the number of factory workers with hearing loss caused by exposure to loud noise in the country. 1 mark. It's more factories or more workers. If we've got more factories, definitely there will be increase in the numbers of hearing losses. 264. Explain why damage to the auditory nerve may result in hearing loss. Everybody knows by now that for 2 marks, we know the function of the auditory nerve. So if it is damaged, what will happen? Definitely it means that there will be a challenge with taking the impulses to the brain. Impulses not transmitted to the cerebrum, not cerebellum but cerebrum, and then cannot be interpreted. That is why the person will not be able to hear. Draw 265. Draw a bar graph to represent the data in the table. Here is the bar graph that is drawn. 6 marks. So basically we've got a set of criteria that is used to mark the graph. So it's going to be type, and then you have 1 mark, and it's going to be caption. The number of factory workers with hearing loss from 2014 to 2018, another mark. Scaling. So we are looking at the shapes and the sizes of the bars and the spaces in between them. So we're looking at the width of the bars and the spaces in between. If they are equal, we get a mark, and we'll look at the labeling. The labeling is going to be based on the year and the number of workers with the hearing loss. It must be correctly labeled. You get a mark. And then there's going to be plotting. Basically, if there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If 2, maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, they are correctly labeled, you get 1 mark. If all of them are correctly labeled, you get another mark. This is how the graphs are marked. To May 2029 paper, May 2019 paper 1. The diagram alongside represents the human ear. Study the diagram and answer the questions that follow. It's a complete ear with the labels. 241. Give the letter and the name of the part that transmits impulses to the brain. So you check, this is the auditory nerve. So it's F, auditory nerve, for 2 marks. B. Allows pressure to equalize between the outer and the middle ear. So the outer and the middle ear, this is the Eustachian tube. Our answer is G, Eustachian tube. 242. Give only the letter of 2 structures in the diagram of the ear that, when damaged, would result in the following: conductive hearing loss. It is going to be B and C. B and C. This affects the part of the ear which is air-filled. And sensory neural hearing loss, which has to do with the inner ear. And the part is going to be part E and part F, which is the cochlea and the auditory nerve. 243, May 2019, still paper 1. Middle ear infections are a common cause of hearing loss. State one way in which middle ear infections are treated. It's just to state that one way is the insertion of grommets or the use of antibiotics. 244. Name the part of the ear where earwax is produced. Where is earwax produced by this ear? It's the auditory canal. They did not ask. Remember, this is the auditory canal, but there is no letter of the alphabet. There's no label line to ask us for the letter. So you need just to name it. 245. Explain why hearing loss due to earwax is usually temporary for 2 marks. If there's a build-up of earwax, this can be remedied. Can you explain why? It is because earwax can be removed. It can be syringed out of the ear. So sound can reach tympanic membrane, which can now vibrate freely. The presence of wax on the tympanic, this part of the ear, will make the tympanic membrane not to vibrate freely, making the ossicles, the middle ear, not to vibrate freely, making the oval window not to vibrate freely, which will also have a negative influence on the formation of the pressure wave in the inner ear. And if we have that, it means that this person is not able to hear, but it's a temporal setup. However, if that is syringed out, if it's removed, the person is able to hear. Do not go far. Just go for a small, short ad break. We are coming back soon. Welcome back, learners, from our ad break. We are now wrapping up what we have looked at based on the ear itself. So, we are good. We have looked at the ear. We looked at the structure and the function of different parts of the ear. We looked at outer, middle, inner ear. We also looked at the functioning of the ear, which is in 2 folds, that is hearing and balancing. We also looked at the hearing defects and how they can be corrected. This is a set of terminology, basic key words that we have spoken about. They are not the only one. Please make sure that you always go through the terms that are used for each chapter, for the ear in particular, because we are looking at the ear. The common content errors and misconceptions, we are now recapping. Learners cannot identify parts of the ear correctly. They do not understand how the structures of different parts of the ear are related to their functions, cannot explain the steps of hearing process in the correct order, do not understand how the parts involved in balance work, cannot predict the effects of ear defects on hearing and balance. Now learners are able to address all this because we have engaged on each one of them correctly and thoroughly. Back home, please make sure that you engage on the past papers. It is very important for you to keep practicing. All the questions that we did today are just samples that we have chosen for us to have a feel of how the approach is used in asking the questions on the ear. We've got a lot. There are 3 different papers that we can look at. There's honestly a lot out there. Go to that big pool. Take as much as you can. The more you practice on daily basis, the more it gets better. Do not memorize the answers that you see on the marking guideline. Understand the question, understand the approach of the answer itself, so that it becomes easier for you when you meet with a very unfamiliar situation of new question papers and you are able to address and answer them correctly. It has been a very good practice session. Till we meet again, let's call it a day.